Imagine this: you've served your country, sacrificed time with your family, and now you're ready to buy a home using the benefits you've earned through your service. But here's the shocking truth: many loan officers, the very people you rely on helping you navigate the process, simply don't understand VA home loans. And even more alarming, some who claim they do are engaging in predatory practices that can cost you thousands of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. The very benefit designed to help you achieve the dream of home ownership is being mishandled, and in some cases, veterans like you are being steered away from using the VA home loan altogether. This isn't a minor inconvenience, it's a wake up call. Today, we're going to uncover the truth between this gap, expose the practices that put veterans at risk, and arm you with the knowledge you need to protect yourself and make informed decisions. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of the challenges and, more importantly, how to overcome them. Your service deserves the best, and we're here to make sure you get that. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the lack of education amongst lenders. One thing that I constantly hear from lenders is that it is extremely complex to use a VA home loan. The reality is, yes, there's going to be nuances, just like with any loan product or like anything you do in life. The VA looks at what's called residual income. They have this weird calculation that when you're buying a property, that they factor in 14 cents per square foot that actually counts against you when qualifying for a home loan. And then there's some things with the appraisal that a lot of lenders just don't do. So if you don't do many of them, it can just seem a lot more complicated. The thing is that it's an amazing benefit, right? You can put no money down. There's no private mortgage insurance. And in some cases, it's competitive when it comes to what the rates are. But lenders vary based on this, because if you go to the biggest banks, they charge you the most amount of money. Because I want you to think this through. If you are watching a commercial, that commercial costs money. If they have actors in those commercials that are well known, they cost even more money. So somebody has to pay for that, and that's you as the veteran. Another big issue with the lack of education is there's training gaps, because a lot of times mortgage companies don't offer a very robust training for loan officers in order to help veterans, because it is an industry that has so many moving pieces to it. The concept of the mortgage is pretty straightforward, right? You provide a 2-year work history, 2-year living history. They take a look at your credit report. You provide the last 2 years of tax returns, last 2 months of pay stubs, and you have an appraisal, right? In a nutshell, that's pretty much what it is. But why is it so complicated? Because there's so many moving pieces around the VA home loan and just buying a house in general. Now, another big thing which also upsets me is the misconceptions and myths that are out there that keep getting passed down to the lending industry and to the real estate industry. I can't tell you how many times we've spoken with agents, and I'm going to use this one example: condos, okay? If you're a veteran and you want to buy a condo, guess what? You can literally buy any condo that you want with a waiver. It is the easiest thing in the world to do. It takes normally takes like a week maybe to get a condo approved or denied, and then a waiver is another couple days. That's the reality of it. We do them all the time. But we'll say that to somebody, and then the agent calls their lender and says, no, it takes 90 days. It's a hard process. This condo won't get approval, and you can't do waivers. And that is a lost opportunity for veterans to be able to purchase a property. Now, lenders don't always do VA loans unless you specialize in them. Just because it's not like there's thousands and thousands of veterans buying in a certain market. They're spread out across the country. The VA does track that. And also you have to be aware of all the changes that the VA is doing with their VA handbook and what are called circulars that update the handbook, but they don't go back and update the handbook in once. They just update the circular. So you have to constantly be checking on that. Now, the consequences to veterans because of this is big thing is just missed opportunities. I can't tell you, thanks to viewers like you who actually reach out and say, can you help me through this process? We'll uncover a lot of things that they can do with their VA home loan. Another big holdback for veterans is just closing costs. Again, I cannot stress enough, looking at loan estimates across the country and closing disclosures, that veterans using the biggest banks get charged the most amount of money out of any veteran. So just imagine, I did a video not too long ago about it. Average price point's $400,000. So on average, veterans pay $8,000 more in closing costs for fun. I just wanted to be very clear. You don't have to pay for those fees, but you do pay for that beautiful marketing that gets you to call these people. So I can't stress that enough because I see it too much, and it's heartbreaking because it clears people's bank accounts out when they don't need to do that. This also just leads to increased stress and frustration in a transaction, especially if a loan approval isn't done correctly. Then you're just high risk of a denial. But I wouldn't worry about that too much. If that comes up, always reach out to us and then we can help you through that. And the other thing is that because lenders don't understand that, then they steer you to other loan products that are less beneficial to you. Unless you're going with some kind of investment strategy, then yeah, okay, it can make sense to use different loan products, but the VA loan itself is amazing. Now, let's talk about predatory practices by specialized lenders. So the thing is, you need to identify predatory practices. This is why you can ask a lender to look at a fee sheet, right? You'll see excessive fees being charged to you. Now, what I want to just take a step back. A loan estimate or a fee sheet is an estimate of closing costs, okay? It is extremely important to understand, extremely, is you don't look at bottom line closing costs of what the closing costs are going to be. You look at the origination and discount points for that interest rate. I bring this up because this is always brought up, right? I'm seeing one lender has these closing costs and the other lender has these closing costs, and this is their bottom line. Because on a purchase, you can manipulate the closing costs so it looks lower than it's going to actually be. It's sad, but again, we see this day in, day out. They'll put some additional credits in fields that they're not supposed to have credits, making it look like their closing costs are being reduced. It's just so crazy to me. If you guys have any questions on reviewing a loan estimate, always happy to do that. There's no charge or anything to do that. This also leads to unnecessarily high interest rates because they may specialize in it. Then they know they have a market or a corner on the market with that. Also, misleading advertising. That's why when you read disclaimers from lenders, they have to say that they are not affiliated with the VA or anything like that. But man, the mailers that I get from people are unbelievably close to looking like they came from the VA, especially if they have like veteran in their name. You know that that's what they're doing for their business. The other part we see a lot of is still to this day is bait and switch tactics, because when you give an initial interest rate, it doesn't make a difference. It could be regulated within their software system, but too often times I see people really lowball interest rates and fees just so they can get clients in the door. And a lot of times clients don't know how to read those loan estimates, getting overcharged, again, crazy amounts of money. I say it because I see it. The other part is going to be pressure tactics. Now, this part I really also dislike. To that is because veterans get pressured like, oh, if you don't work with us, they can't do it. It is mind-blowing the amount of times I've heard clients say that from their lenders, and thank goodness that they left them because they saved a ton of money and they were able to use their VA home loan. Now, these things have also consequences for veterans because there is a lack of transparency in the industry. Someone should be going through all the disclosures with you, what you're signing, explain to you, do you have to pay those fees or not? And also, offers that seem too good, should I say, to be true, it is what it is, right? That you won't be able to do that. If demanding upfront fees on a pre-approval, that's something that you should walk away from. And guys and gals, high pressure sales tactics is something you want to stay away from. And again, veterans for some reason will stay with those people that try to do them the most harm. So please stop watching the marketing and reach out to someone that really understands the loan and has your best interest at heart. The other thing is veterans also get steered away from the VA loan. Some of the reasons that veterans do get steered away from VA loans to other products could be because the lender, which is just 100% illegal, will push them into products that have higher margins for them. And like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of misconceptions about the complexity, because if you don't do them all the time, then you think that they're much harder because you'll miss a ton of stuff, which does happen since you don't do it. And again, combined with inadequate training, or ask somebody when you're talking with a loan officer, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Ask them, how many loans do you do yourself? Right? That's one area of it. You're still going to have to vet these people. Now, you're going to have some consequences when the loan officers are trying to steer you away from it because you have a loss of financial benefits. The number one piece is I can't stress enough the condo part. I talk to so many veterans that buy a condo and they're like, oh, well, we couldn't do it. It's too complicated. So the lender made us get a conventional loan. Then we'll refinance later into a VA loan. I don't think you understand the amount of cost that goes into refinancing. Some states it's nothing. Other states it's crazy. And then there's also interest rate factors that go into that. You also have just an increased financial burden, and you just have a reduction in home ownership opportunities for veterans, especially with this new NAR lawsuit that came into effect and the VA updating its requirements, now letting veterans pay for realtor fees. Plus, you have these additional fees. Now, I promise you, home ownership is not attainable for a lot of Americans that are out there looking to use the VA home loan. And on top of the emotional, financial stress, it's just kind of, it's just so mind-blowing. The first thing that you want to be able to do is educate yourself. Check out the channel and all the different videos that we have. We also do live events every month, so you can ask your questions. And listen, it's never too early to schedule a call with somebody and go over your financial situation. A link is in the description below if you guys want to reach out. Now, choosing the right lender is all about asking questions and not getting sold. Please, guys, make sure you're asking questions, right? Ask control questions about the VA home loan. Now, one thing I mentioned early on is an easy one to ask when you're interviewing a loan officer. Asking them, does the VA factor in square footage into residual income? You may be thinking, like, I don't know what that means still. So the VA, I'm going to explain it quickly because this is like an easy control question. If they don't know what you're talking about, then they just don't know VA loans. Like, this is a critical part of it, because if you don't factor this in correctly, you could be denied like 3 weeks into a transaction. It's sad, but it happens. The reason the VA factors in square footage into your application is because the VA looks at net income. That's primarily what residual income is, right? You look at your income minus your tax deduction, Social Security, state taxes, and then you have a number left over. So that's why veterans with the VA loan can typically qualify for a lot more in a loan product because of that, okay? And they want to, so that's why the VA factors in the utility cost into that square footage of 14 cents per square foot. So asking that question should be a good indicator, because most people I talk to, even that do lending and they do some VA loans, they just are like, I don't even know what that means. And that's just a good way to understand it. And just understand that home buying is complicated because of the amount of people involved in it, and things can just change that are out of your control. Uh, Everything could be going perfectly smooth. An appraisal comes in, it might need some work. Too easy. We get contractors to give the bids. You do an escrow account, escrow holdback. You can do the repairs after closing, right? So you can buy a property as is. But let's say in that meantime, towards the end, we find out, because you always don't get title early on, is that there is a tax lien on the sellers. And now all of a sudden it goes into a panic because they don't have enough money to pay it off, even with the sale of the home. We've seen it all. So just keep it cool. And just, that's the other thing. Make sure that your loan officer knows how to solve problems. The main part is problems. Being pre-approved initially, extremely important, right? I cannot stress that enough as well. There's a lot of stressing in this process, okay? You also want someone that is available, right? Because most of the time you're looking at homes in the evenings, weekends. You want to make sure that they have a system, like calling listing agents when you make an offer, introducing themselves, going through like, yes, they're a strong candidate. Everything's been verified. That's kind of like the main piece of this, because if they're not available on the weekends when you're making offers, you end up losing out on listings. And also, if you're using some of the big banks, a lot of times, unfortunately, listing agents will pass those up because it's a lot more difficult to work with them, because you're working with call centers, not someone that can pick up a phone, or you can text them and get answers. So hopefully you guys had some good takeaways today. Let me know if you have any questions. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button, and check out our future videos to learn more about the home buying process. I'll catch you guys soon.